to work as official militias.
It's a weird. It's a weird situation that's going on there,
Yeah.
and a very dangerous one too.
Yes, definitely. And with the move against making them listing the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization is a new one. Because the Muslim Brotherhood's been illegal for most of its existence until a few years ago when the with the revolution, and now then they took power, most of the power, and now they got knocked out of power and were made illegal a couple weeks ago. Now they're considered a terrorist organization after several bombings against police stations mostly and military units and a few churches as well.
Now, here's the question. Of course, we all know why they were made legal. Because the U.S. supported the coup, supported the coup and everything. And does this show that it's just not a good idea for the U.S. to get involved in certain things?
Oh, definitely. It was here as we supported one side, and well, it didn't necessarily turn completely against us, but it became the power struggle in Egypt after the revolution, and one side led it, and then they pissed off not just the other side, but the people that had been neutral in the middle as well, by trying to put Islamist law, Sharia law, into play, and it didn't go well. And finally, the military stepped in and, kicked them out of power in the name of maintaining peace. However, and I think it's probably a true statement that it hasn't necessarily kept everything completely peaceful, but it's definitely cut down on the violence a lot, because you had thousands of protesters on each side attacking each other. Now it's unfortunately gone the more terrorist route with suicide bombings and car bombings. But when you have three people dead a week instead of 30 a day, it kind of looks like an improvement.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those. It's a weird situation when again you run into looking at like the past presidents and stuff like that. Kind of the weird thing is Mubarak and Morsi were both Sunni Islam. They're both members of the Sunni Islam, faction, whatever you want to call it. But I guess it shows when you have people who are a little bit more secular versus jihadists, for lack of a better term.
Yes. Yeah, you've got the people that are religious but not necessarily ruled by their religion, versus the people that are, this is the only way, we'll persecute you if you don't believe the same as we do.
Yeah. Now that being said, I mean that's not to say that Mubarak was a saint. I mean, there are allegations of corruption and kickbacks, etc.
Yeah, and he was a dictator, no questions about it. But yeah.
The question that you run into, and this is the question that people need to ask from a political standpoint, is okay, where do you draw the lines in getting involved in stuff?
Yeah.
And it's a fine line.
Oh yeah, it's a very fine line, and it's a case by case one too. You can't necessarily have. I mean, you can have a general guidelines for every situation, but each one has its own keys that make it. You can put it on either side of the line, depending.
Yeah.
We saw that with Syria, the whole chemical weapons thing. Well, both sides were using chemical weapons.
Shh! Don't say that.
Yes, that makes certain people unhappy.
Hi, NSA. Wait.
Speaking of McCain, people that are unhappy about Syria.
Hi, Senator McCain. Well, I'm not sure you're listening. I no longer live in Arizona. Although it could be argued that you didn't listen to people in Arizona anyway.
True.
Meanwhile, for those who care, the Cowboys trail the Eagles 17-16.
For not watching the game, you sure are up to date on it.
I happened to see. I happened to take a look at what the score was on Yahoo.
Hmm. Yeah. So moving from the protests, we did have in Volgograd, Russia today. There was a suicide bombing at a train station that killed 16 people. No specific group claimed responsibility for the attack, but it's showing it been part of an increase in terrorist activity as the country gets ready for the Winter Olympics that are coming up there.
They think that, based on what I saw in Pravda and other Russian news sources, they think that it was Islamic militants who did this.
Yeah, which suicide bombing is generally the case. But yeah, like I said, no one has claimed it. I mean, it's pretty easy to point fingers and guess, and Russia does have a history of Islamist extremists attacking their. Then we had on Christmas, actually, the Taliban threw 4 rockets into Kabul, Afghanistan, 2 of which struck the U.S. embassy there. No one was actually hurt in the attack. However, one of the rockets didn't explode, and 3 police officers were injured when it exploded while they were trying to defuse it. And that was, as I said, Christmas, and it was another show of the Taliban's continued activity in there. And Afghanistan is once again trying to work harder to retain U.S. and other NATO country troops after the 2014 withdrawal plan, which is another one of those semi-hush-hush. We don't want to admit that we're going to maintain U.S. troops in a country we've how many times promised to get out of? And today, this morning, you had Israel had rockets from Lebanon. 4 rockets left Lebanon. 2 of them actually made it to Israel. 2 fell short. 1 of them almost hit an Israeli town. No one was injured. Israel responded by firing 32 artillery rounds, 8 at each of the launch sites. They didn't injure anyone either, but Lebanese troops did find the remnants of the rocket launch pads that had been used. Again, no one's claimed responsibility. It's not thought to be Hezbollah because Hezbollah is too busy with Syria to be wanting to mess with Israel. However, it's thought to be possibly someone actually on the other side in Syria trying to get Israel to and Hezbollah to go at it. But along with that today, you had Saudi Arabia and Lebanon announced an agreement where Saudi Arabia is granting Lebanon $3 billion in military aid. A good chunk of that is going to France to pay for new weapons that France is going to make and send to Lebanon. And Mikhail Suleiman, Lebanon's president, has stated that he hopes France will not only send it, but consider beginning training the Lebanese military so that they will become not just better equipped, but actually better fighters. And French President Francis Hollande responded saying that he's sure France will be willing to make an agreement on that and considers Lebanon an ally. The reasoning behind this is Saudi Arabia is hoping that if they make the military stronger, the military can eventually become more powerful than Hezbollah, who has a lot more power inside Lebanon than the actual military does,
Hmm.
which gives them a lot of power, national policy and stuff, when they just have more power in the military. So it'll be interesting to see if this actually works or how much of the weapons Hezbollah intercepts.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. And the other thing today was the French created a tax on companies that pay salaries over 1 million a year, 1 million euros, that is. It's basically a rich tax, and
Well,
it
because
affects.
they wanted to do that anyway.
Well, yeah, and well, just last year they had a rich tax that would just tax the rich at a 75% tax rate. However, that was ruled unconstitutional by it's called the Constitutional Council. They kind of make Supreme Court rulings, and it said it failed to recognize the equality before public burdens. But so now they've passed it as a tax upon companies. So that's okay because it taxes the companies, not the individuals.
Of course.
Yeah. And it's a 50% instead of the 75% too. And it mainly affects, and back to what we were talking about, like the Premier League and stuff, it affects soccer teams and as well as businesses because they're the ones that pay salaries over 1 million euros a year. And it's caused actually several soccer teams have threatened to go on strike over it. Or even with that threat, they still passed the new tax. Yeah, ever since Hollanday's been in office, he's tried to do the rich tax and stuff like that. So he got his wish finally.
Well, you can only get so much. So
Yeah.
you can only get so much. As you asked me, is it break time? Yes, it is break time. So we'll be right back. This is next on Vigilant Liberty Radio. Your host is Jonathan Sangster. Your producer is Taylor. We'll be right back after this.
We want to welcome Michael Moore to Occupy Wall Street. I'm so impressed by what I'm seeing here.
How much of people's income do you, Michael Moore, want the government to confiscate?
Probably twice what we're paying right now.
It's not envy, it's war.
Where's the rage? Where's the uprising?
Storm the doors of the New York Stock Exchange.
It is a class war.
If the wealthy paid their fair share. For a documentary filmmaker, I do really well. I'm very blessed.
And the rich thought poverty was bad.
I do well.
They get rid of it.
What pure? There's nothing pure about capitalism.
And they know what's coming on Wall Street.
We're seeing the end of capitalism. And I say good riddance.
He is one of my favorite capitalists. Yeah, I want to give him a hug.
And that is huggingmore.com. Our pals over at FTR Radio are doing that. Jonathan Sangster, you'd say that the FTR Radio folks are our pals, right?
All the ones I know, anyways. Never know about the ones I don't know.
The answer is, of course, yes.
Figure it's just be better, safe. No.
Yeah.
Like I said, yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, they've got some good stuff over there. But
Fingers,
now we're friends.
Fingers doing the Snark Factor. Of course, Katrina Jurgensen doing World Class Hour. Some people,
Both of whom I've met at BlogCon.
Yeah. Some two people who do a show called The Right War, they're
On
okay.
Katrina's show.
Those folks are okay. And if people